Hello and welcome to a new episode of Reptil TV. My intro animal, I'm a fan of albinos or color mutations, and here I have something that I actually have or can show for the first time in my life. This is an albino Greek tortoise, Testudo hermanni, as an albino. I think you can see it quite clearly and easily, right? The yellow shell, then the classic red eyes. Look, she's also completely fearless, I mean, you turtle people know when you pick up a tortoise like this, they often keep their head inside and don't stick it out at all. But this little handsome guy here is really curious and looks around to see what's there to discover. Albino European tortoise, a real rarity still. I don't know how many of them exist, but certainly not many. I'm quite proud or happy about it. But I know that many of you are critical and say, who needs something like that? That's okay too. I think to each their own. The animal is doing well, it's eating well. We're careful with the UV lighting, and we try accordingly, of course, to make sure the calcium and D3 supply is especially well taken care of, because due to the red eyes, we are a bit hesitant with the UV light. As I said, I find it very interesting, very exciting, and that's why I want to show you this animal as today's intro animal. Today's topic is Bamboo Ratsnakes. That's perfect because right now we have a few beautiful, at least 3 beautiful subspecies of Bamboo Ratsnakes to show you. It's actually really fascinating with all the different subspecies of Bamboo Ratsnakes. So first of all, scientifically, they are now called Oreocryptophis as the genus name. I think that seems to change every few years too. Oreocryptophis, porphyraceus, that's what they've been called all along. And in this case, I have a Pulchra in my hand. So I find it quite interesting that it's still described, or that they're all still described as subspecies, even though they already have noticeably different appearances, So if you look at the Pulchra here and later compare it to the Coxi, they're still all subspecies. The fact that there are so many colors and subspecies also has to do with the relatively large natural distribution area. So the Bamboo Ratsnakes come from southwestern China and occur across the entire Thai Malay Peninsula. So let's start at the top in China, then comes Myanmar, Vietnam, Thailand, Thailand again, Malaysia. That's where you find the different Bamboo Ratsnake subspecies, and accordingly also different colorations. So that's really a very fascinating story. For years, it's been a popular terrarium snake because it's really easy to keep in a terrarium. Their size is quite manageable. So bamboo ratsnakes grow to about 1 meter in length. Record specimens might be a little over 1 meter, but typically they're around 1 meter. The males actually stay a bit smaller. With them, you're looking at maybe 60 to 80 centimeters at most for bamboo ratsnakes. Climatically, they are also really easy to keep because, and this is important, you need to know this, they actually prefer it, they prefer it relatively cool. So bamboo ratsnakes are not like corn snakes or ball pythons or anything like that, where you need to heat them up to 30 degrees Celsius during the day, or should do so. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Basically, you keep them almost at room temperature, or let's say in a warm room. Here at the shop, we usually keep them in the office because our snake rooms are too warm, and even the office is a bit warmer than average. Our office is at 23 to 24 degrees Celsius, which is the perfect temperature for bamboo ratsnakes at night. there should be a significant drop in temperature to below 20 degrees. They don't want more than that, and they really can't tolerate more either. I think that was actually the standard mistake people made about 10 or 20 years ago when they thought, oh, it's a snake, so for it to digest, it needs at least 25 degrees, or better yet, 27 or 28. And then people kept them quite warm and were often surprised when they possibly regurgitated their food or simply just didn't develop well or eventually died or became ill over time, sometimes unexpectedly. And ever since it became known that room temperature or even just a comfortably warm room temperature is best, bamboo rat snakes have really been bred well and successfully. And in the terrarium hobby, they have truly become a very popular terrarium snake. In terms of care, all bamboo rat snakes are essentially the same, all subspecies. I've just mentioned the temperature. It is definitely a ground dweller. You will, I would say, never find bamboo rat snakes anywhere up in a tree or on a root, but usually they are hidden. They love some kind of moist moss hide, you know. Funnily enough, the mosso, if you're already keeping them relatively cool in the terrarium, and then you add this moist moss, it actually makes the perceived temperature even colder, or probably makes the hiding spot itself even colder. But that is really very important for bamboo rat snakes. So you absolutely have to provide a hiding place. The hatch boxes we have, for example, with a magnetic lid, put some moist moss inside, and that will be the bamboo rat snake's favorite spot. Or if you have really small ones, sometimes we also use little plastic containers with a lid, put moss inside, and they absolutely love to hide in there. In fact, they spend most of the day hidden in the moss and only occasionally come out at night to look for food, to see if they can find anything. I already mentioned the size of the animals earlier. So with just under a meter, that's about as big as they get. And the males are a bit smaller than that. That means, I would say a terrarium that's 90 by 45 centimeters is sufficient for a bamboo rat snake. It's good for a bamboo rat snake, or maybe even a 1 meter. 1.20 terrarium. I know that terrarium keepers, or many of us, or many of you, like to keep them as large as possible, thinking the terrarium can never be big enough. I think that's nonsense. For a bamboo rat snake, 90 centimeters to 1 meter is good. 45 centimeters deep, 45 centimeters high, or 50 deep, 50 high. That's the perfect terrarium. As I said, offer nice, good hiding spots with moist moss inside. Usually the entrance is from above, right? Add a few roots inside. Sometimes they also hide under the roots. You can also go ahead and push a bit of moss under the root. As a substrate, aspen wood shavings have proven to be perfect. Some types of wood shavings can get a bit too dry, or the coconut substrate that you sometimes use might also get a little too dry, or rather the coconut chips themselves become too dry. You can also use those coconut bricks that you dissolve in water as a substrate. As I said before, we use the aspen, the fine one. It's called aspen Reptile. That has actually worked out really well for the bamboo rat snakes. And earlier I mentioned warm room temperature. It depends. As I said, our office is unusually warm. Of course, that's because of all the animals here. So if you have them in a normal living space, then you should add a small heater, maybe a small heat panel. So for the size of terrarium I mentioned, maybe use a 25-watt heat panel, or control the whole thing with a thermostat, or use a 30-watt heat panel with a thermostat. Lighting is purely for aesthetics. You can add it if you want. It's really more for you so that it looks nice. We can also offer you this. So what we have in our range is this colubrid set for small to medium-sized colubrids. That's actually the perfect terrarium for these bamboo rat snakes. I can highly recommend it to you. Now, I'm not sure, did I mention the animal earlier? It was Laticinctus. This one here is Coxi. Coxi is, I think, the classic among bamboo rat snakes. They're striped lengthwise. Most bamboo rat snakes are banded crosswise, but the Coxis are striped lengthwise, and they've already been bred for a long time, or almost the longest, I would say. They used to be considered the cheapest option, mainly because they were actually the most common species found in terrarium keeping. Nowadays, well, I wouldn't necessarily say they're the most expensive ones out there, but at least, yeah, by now they're all about the same price, more or less, because they're all bred about equally often and are actually equally easy to breed, just as much as the others. The Coxis are perhaps among the most popular because visually, with their longitudinal markings, they might also be among the most attractive. This one here, I think it's about to molt soon. That's why its color is a bit dull. Yeah, the Coxi stands out because of these longitudinal markings, right? Let's move on to breeding bamboo rat snakes. They are relatively easy to breed and reach sexual maturity at around 2 years. At that point, males are about 60 centimeters long, females about 80. The stimulation is the winter dormancy. So you do give these animals a thorough winter rest at around 10 degrees, maybe 10 to 12 degrees, or even 10 to 15 degrees is fine. You let them hibernate for 2-3 months. During that time, you just provide a water bowl. Of course, also a hiding place. Leave the terrarium as is, just add a water bowl. During winter dormancy, in cool temperatures, they can't digest food. You let them hibernate for 2 or 3 months. When you then bring them out of hibernation and raise the temperatures again, they start to mate and will lay 2 or even 3 clutches per year. As I said, it's really not all that difficult to do. And from those clutches, after around 50 days, some tiny, actually even smaller than these little baby bamboo rat snakes hatch out. Getting the babies to start eating at first can be a little bit tricky. You can try different methods. For example, dead baby mice with the head slightly cut open, so that a bit of brain comes out. That sometimes really stimulates them quite well to eat. Or even live baby mice can be key in getting them to start feeding. You can leave them in overnight, place them in front of the hiding spot. At first, you need some tricks. It's also important to keep the babies separate. Each baby should be kept alone in a small terrarium. The climate, as just described, is very important. Don't keep it too warm and make sure to provide a moist and secure hiding spot where they can retreat and feel safe. I've had a lot of bamboo rat snakes over the past several years, even decades. I think in the end, I can't think of a single animal that didn't start eating sooner or later. Very few of them actually need force feeding. Even then, I can hardly remember cases where we really had to do it. Sooner or later, they'll start eating if, as I said, you try different things live or dead. So from that perspective, they're perfectly suited as terrarium animals. With that, we've basically reached the end of the Bamboo Ratsnake episode. As we come to a close, to wrap things up, here's another Oreocryptophis, porphyraceus, Pulchra. I found this one especially beautiful, so I wanted to show it to you again. Crystal clear markings, such beautiful, perfect bending. And then the head pattern is always beautiful too, with those lines on the head. So unfortunately, I only had 3 subspecies here. Altogether, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, I think there are 7 subspecies of the bamboo rat snake. I probably should have prepared that actually. Here's a question for you. Who knows them all? Is it 7? Please post it down below in the comments. Exactly 2 actually do know. I just want to see if you know as well. post it down below. Look, even the bamboo rat snake is running away when I make such false claims here. Yeah, 7 subspecies. If that's still Correntum, post it down below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the episode. I'm sure all of you like the bamboo rat snakes because at least for every snake keeper, I think a beautiful snake like this just makes your heart leap. Thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next episode, and check out the bamboo rat snakes, as they're called in English.